everyone, and welcome to That Fucking Mormon. Different from last episode. If you did watch the last one, you probably can tell that I'm sitting down and I have a little table I'm sitting up to, so I feel very professional all of a sudden. So today, I'm going to be doing more of it's going to be normal here going forward, which is going to be a short news segment compared to what a lot of other news style programs there are. We're going to cover probably about 3 stories in any given day. Less if they require a lot more of a deep dive, more if they're little lighter touch stories. And then I will end the night with, well, depending on when you watch this, I'll end the episode with a spiritual thought, like a few scriptures, and or a lighthearted story or something like that, just sort of set the palette for the rest of the day. And so I don't know if that's going to be how this whole thing works from here on going forward, but I don't want to put off doing this anymore because this has been something that I've been really wanting to do. And so, I mean, could have done an election video like I wanted to do, but didn't get a chance to do that. And so I'm done putting it off and waiting until the right time for me to try to do this kind of thing. So first, we'll step into the news side of things. The first news story I'd like to cover. So I originally saw this article on CNN, and then I went to every other left-wing news source and found the exact same, not the exact same article. It wasn't written by like the same person, but the exact same sort of headline on every left-leaning site. And then I went to Fox News, and they didn't have it. I went to every site because I wanted to get more information on it. And what I ended up doing was I actually went to the Truth Social app, which, I have access to on my phone. And I went and screenshotted the exact comment. Trump made a comment on... One second. I'm just trying to make sure I have it set up so I can show you. He made a comment on Truth Social about... I'm still trying to make up my mind about how I feel about what he said, and mostly because I don't understand what his intent was. And so forgive me if I don't have that for you, but I want to present this information to you. Typically, I did vote for Trump when both times he ran for president so far. I'm on the fence as to whether I'll vote for him this next coming election cycle, just because I don't know what other options there are going to be. I don't know if there are going to be other options that are viable. I know Ron DeSantis might run, just based off of chants from his audience during when he was announced to be the winner of the electoral race. But I'll just read what Trump said. He said, "So with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception, and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC, and the Democratic Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? Massive fraud of this type magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections." So, just before I get into it, Elon Musk also had a response to this where he said the Constitution is above any given president. End of story. I don't have a screenshot of his tweet, but I'm pretty sure that CNN wouldn't. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't know what CNN would and wouldn't do, but I saw the same tweet repeated multiple times. So that's kind of the gist I got from the response. And that leads me to believe that Elon at least saw this as I wasn't declared the winner, so therefore the election should be thrown out. The Constitution should be uprooted, that kind of thing. If that's the intent, I don't believe that. I don't believe that that's what needs to happen here. But I don't believe that's what he's saying. I don't believe that that's what he wants here. And if you... well, my camera's actually facing the other way, so I feel I should be pointing there, but I'm looking here. Anyway, so this was comment was given right after a drop of, I don't know if it was emails or just a detailed correspondence of between Twitter and the DNC and different tech companies talking about the 2020 election, talking about how they, worked with one another to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, other things like that. And so obviously, Trump's not the kind of guy who just sits there in a corner and just stays quiet, which is what a lot of other people would do in the same situation, having lost in the way he did. But he went on Truth Social, which he, as far as I understand, he's refusing to go back to Twitter. So he went on Truth Social and made this comment. And I believe what he's trying to say is that when this kind of thing happens, an unprecedented thing, unprecedented reactions are called for. I think that's kind of what he meant. Obviously, that's not how most people took it. That's not what other people are getting from it. But that's kind of what I think he meant. And in 2020, I also agree. I don't believe that the election was completely free of fraud. There is no way to completely get rid of all fraud in any given election. It happens. It's going to happen. We are humans who don't like seeing things that we don't want happen. So no matter what, there's going to be some level of fraud. There's going to be some level of pushback by people who don't want what is inevitable to happen. In this case, I'm posting to YouTube, so I am trying to censor a little bit because I know that they don't like it when comments about elections are made. But I do believe that Trump, had a lot of headway and had a lot of ability to win the last election, and I myself believed that a new election should have been held to a new standard of not having mail-in ballots, not having all those potential loopholes. There should have been a new election to declare who the proper winner was supposed to be, because I just simply. Biden really didn't make a lot of appearances. He didn't make a lot of appearances for the first 6 months of his presidency. It just really didn't feel to me like he was the popular go get him president that everybody was all mainstream media was claiming him to be. And so I really didn't feel like the response that was received was appropriate. So I believe that's kind of what Trump was getting at, just like, that kind of a context of there was rules broken, so therefore a new election needs to be held to codify not codify it, to make it so the real winner is obvious. Now I believe he went too far, as Trump tends to do. He tends to go big, go macro, so people see, so that people can understand the micro. I think he went really big in his language of these regulations. They're founded on the Constitution, but they should be removed if fraud happens. And I believe that, I don't know if he actually meant, go that far. I don't think that's the case, but he said it that way, and he should have understood that most of mainstream media and most of the people flooding to YouTube to talk about it were going to talk about this and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe he said that. He said he wants to end the Constitution. And then all the Constitution-hating Democrats are going to come along and say, oh, we have to protect the Constitution the way it is. And just like, I think it was kind of stupid of him to say it like this. I believe, he's made a lot of, ever since he declared his run for presidency in 2024, I feel like he's made a lot of missteps that are going to put him in a very bad light with even voters, even people who voted for him last time. Even though I would probably vote for him again, he's making a lot of missteps that are really putting him in a bad position to be reelected. So that's enough of that as far as I'm concerned. So just one more note on that. I had to look at my notes. I don't think that Trump is actually running for president. I think that he is going up there to draw fire for someone else who's going to be a less controversial candidate, but would, if he did not have the backing of Trump, struggle to get any sort of nomination. But I mean, let me describe what I'm thinking. So Trump has, talked about DeSantis in the past. He's kind of dissed him in the past. DeSantis has, has made a great state out of Florida, and he's been a great governor, and he really deserved the re-election that he got because he's really done a lot of good for Florida. And so Trump went after him, and that wasn't. I don't believe that that was a really good stance for Trump to take. I think that he was wrong to do that. But then right afterwards, Trump, announced his bid for president, and then he proceeded to do a lot of really dumb shit. Having there was a bunch of people over for dinner. I don't remember all their names, but I mean, I just been hearing nothing but controversy about him since then, which it feels like more controversy that was. I mean, I feel like his advisors should have told him, hey, this is kind of a really dumb move. You shouldn't have these people over. You shouldn't be communicating in these channels. I feel like he must be, because CNN is going to take the bait and trash him as much as they possibly can to keep him from becoming president. I think that he's doing that intentionally to try to draw their fire away from another candidate and basically, be the shield above their head until they get past the primaries. And then when it gets to to an actual election time, then this guy will come out as like a horse in the night, or whatever the phrase is, and to have a potential to win the general election. So I feel like there's a lot going on with this comment especially, and with Trump in general. I think it's a lot, and I'm not going to assume that I understand where Trump is coming from or what, but that's kind of the idea that I'm getting. So in other news, the Pentagon has just rolled out a new fighter jet, one that is capable of dropping nukes and dropping whatever other type of bombs as well, but nukes specifically. And they, in the article, I'll have all references available in the comments section, and of wherever you're listening to, I'll have it in the description of whatever podcast you listen to, and I'll have it on Rumble and YouTube as well. But in the article, they specifically mentioned threats from China and Russia. So that Russia is the obvious thing for them to state, but China, that's something that you haven't heard from our government for a while. Talking about, I mean, yeah, Trump, Biden has been saying things like talking about China and how he basically he can fight, he could take them on or whatever, or they respect him enough that they wouldn't do anything. Or I haven't really heard anything hard from him at all, but it is good to know that at least the Pentagon has their eye. Well, I assume they do, considering they just said it, on Russia and potentially having to fight them. But it and then later on they were talking about how China has greater space capabilities, greater nuclear capabilities, and I'm like, space capabilities? Well, didn't Trump mention wanting to have a space force? And you guys said he was crazy and laughed at him, and yet we're looking at China is going to space and getting more ability in space, and we're not. So what's the deal there? Why was Trump excoriated for saying, hey, by the way, we need a space force because the next frontier, the next battlefield is going to be space? He's laughed at. 2 or 3 years later, we have an article, Pentagon saying China's better in space than we are. So is there an admission of being wrong there, or are we just gonna keep going like nothing ever happened? So anyway, I think it's great that we're working to meet those new demands. I think that our military, even though they've been sizing down on their recruitment of normal everyday Americans, by having transgender people and pregnant women in their airplanes and stuff like that. I think that this is a step in the right direction. All the rest of the steps, not so good. But I just don't really know if we can trust a woman who is pregnant. Which women, if you're pregnant and watching me right now, my wife has had two of my kids, and I love her to death. But I will not say that there weren't hormones at play that changed how she felt about certain things, mainly me, during that time period. And dog, stop it. Anyway, but I really don't think that all those hormones being at play would really help the situation if you're dropping a nuke. And that's just me. I don't think that if also this is a jet, I don't think we should have infants in the womb flying around. I mean, that's a cool story if, your mom goes into labor while she's flying in to drop a nuke on China, and then she flies you back and you're born and given dual citizenship. Fantastic. That's kind of cool. But I don't think that would ever happen because you'd probably be dead. So pretty much if you're worried, if you're a woman worried in the military that you can't get an abortion, just go into the Air Force. They got you handled. So last thing, apparently Elon Musk kicked Kanye West off of Twitter, which it was weird because I was listening to a political commentator today where he was talking about, back and forth between Musk and Kanye pretty consistently, and he didn't mention anything about him being kicked off, but this is from Times of Israel, and that's who's, of course I have no internet, so I can't view the article right now. But anyway, so what Kanye did is he posted a picture of a swastika that was like embedded into the Star of David, and so that along with a lot of his comments on the Alex Jones show, on the InfoWars show, I think it was day before last, or yesterday, one of the two, depending on when this uploads, because it might take me 3 days to upload this. He was talking about how, Hitler, and it wasn't such a bad guy. He had good qualities. And the Nazis, he loved the Nazis and he loved the Jews. I think those are all weird ass things to say. I think they're blatantly wrong. I don't think there's anything redeeming about the Nazi Party, especially since it's socialism. And I don't care how you line up on socialism; it is evil. And I think what he needs to do, get on medication, take a break from the spotlight. Obviously, that has to be something he does voluntarily. I don't believe that should ever be forced on anyone unless you are actually physically hurting someone and you need to be detained. That's obviously a very different thing. But he is being put in a position where he's not allowing the heat to die down between controversies enough that he can get by, So I really feel like what he needs to do is just take a break, let these controversies die down, get on some medication. I mean, he's talked about his mental health. That's a very big thing. Just take care of yourself. I think that's something that a lot of people with mental health issues don't do. Like, I have ADHD. I didn't really know, but I also was refused to go to a therapist to help diagnose it for a long time. I refused to go to a doctor that would prescribe medication because I didn't believe that medication could help me. And I had a very, honestly, it was from like growing up with the family that I had, it was very much anti-therapist, anti-medication, even though they believed in modern medicine, and they believed that mental health was a good thing. They didn't act on it. They didn't act like it was a good thing. So I'm dealing with that. I'm having to deal with the repercussions of a lifetime of mental issues that have built up from me not understanding the problems I had. And I'm seeing a lot the same thing with Kanye. He's admitting he has mental issues, and for the last 2-3 years, I've known for a fact that I have mental issues because I've had to live with a completely different family. I got married 3 to 4 years, between 3 and 4 years ago, and I've been with a completely different family. And from the start, I realized, my growing up life was very different from most people. My mental abilities are very different from most people. My thought processes are very different from most people, and it's very weird how different it is. And it took me, like, honestly, a lot of depression and a lot of dark roads before I finally realized there's something wrong with me. I need help. And then I finally discovered that I have ADHD, and I'm working on getting medication for it. I'm working on getting treatment for it. If Musk truly does have mental issues, which he, sorry, not Musk, Kanye has mental issues, which he has admitted that he does, he needs to get on medication. That's the best thing he can do for himself. He needs to get to a therapist. That's the best thing he can do for himself. Those two things, therapy and medication. Voluntary will always work better than anybody forcing you. He needs to do it voluntarily. And I don't believe of being forced to do it will ever yield the same results. And that's why it shouldn't happen that way. So, but given that, if he has actually been removed from Twitter, which I need to do more research on that topic because of just things I've heard today versus what I'm seeing, what I saw in this article. If he was actually removed from Twitter, even if it was a temporary ban or if it was permanent, and like it'll say if the tweet, I don't even know if the tweet got, I don't know if like if you're removed, can you still view the tweets? Um, I don't think he was inciting violence by posting a picture of the swastika and the Star of David. I don't think he was. I think he was trying to make have a misguided notion of the facts that, you know, the Nazis were bad guys. They did bad things, and they should not be praised or lauded. And I don't think that he. I don't think he should have posted that, but it wasn't a call to violence. I think that Elon should leave that post up as a testament to Kanye's state of mind and the addled state of his ideologies. We should be able to show that tweet to anyone who asks, hey, what happened to Kanye? We should be able to show them that tweet and say, this is what's wrong. He believes this. And then if he comes back later and says, I had a come to Jesus moment. I know this was wrong. I know I know all this. That has to happen voluntarily too. But we should be allowed to view that tweet. We should be able to be allowed to hear from him. If he decides to continue pushing and pushing this thought process, we should be able to hear from him. And then if people don't like what he has to say, gradually he'll lose followers. Gradually he'll lose his following. And if people are so drawn in by what he has to say that they start following a Nazi agenda, I don't believe that he's, talked about wanting people to. At least I don't think he has. I don't think he's talked about, wanting anybody to be killed. But if somebody else seeks out a Nazi agenda because of something he says, I don't think he can be held accountable for that, because that means that they're going down a very dark road of their own, and that person will probably needs mental help as well. So I'm so much pro free speech especially in this case, even in this case, that I really don't want anything to be taken away, because that should stand as a testament to what is wrong. And so people can see that and push back and understand, what's wrong with that. And if you keep on deleting history, if you keep on removing statues, if you keep on removing tweets, if you keep on removing people who have dissenting opinions, you are never going to get to the crux of the issue, which is why. Why is this bad? Why is this good? Why do we consider these things to be good and these things to be evil? There is a very big difference between good and evil. Sometimes it's hard to see when it's covered in glitter and waving a polymer dick in your face, as trannies tend to do. Drag queens. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring trannies into it. But it's just, there's so much of a difference between good and evil. You have to understand the line. You have to understand where your autonomy and God-given rights start and someone else's start. You have to understand that. And it's hard. It is. And that's one of the reasons why I don't believe in abortion. I believe that is a line that you have your body, and then you make the choice to have sex, and then the natural consequence of you having sex is that child being born, and you have a few choices. You can either use contraception that you prevent this from happening in the first place, or you can give them up for adoption, or you can raise the child. And but I just don't believe that abortion is one of those options. I don't think that's right. And I think that's something that, people need to be able to see all those viewpoints. And, the FP people who are being banned from, protesting outside abortion clinics. You have people who are getting removed from Twitter for dissenting opinions. Not specifically about that, but in general. And so the point I'm trying to make is you need to have both sides of the argument always present, or else you will lose ground rather than holding on to and sustaining the ground you've gained. So anyway, that's my rant for the day. That's going to be the end of the news portion of the night. If you have any questions or any comments about anything that I've said today, please, please, please leave a comment, follow, or subscribe, or whatever the term is used wherever you're at. And goodness gracious me, if and obviously, like, I understand that a lot of people a lot of the potential people that might listen to this might not agree with me, and I understand that, and I want to hear from you too. I mean, if I can reason this through with you, I will. I'm not the most intelligent person, but I want to try. I want to try to reach across to you and speak with you. So, this is gonna be the end of the news segment for the day. If you are not interested in hearing the scriptural side of things for the evening, you are more than welcome to cut off the video here or leave it running to give me the extra little bit of playtime. Otherwise, I hope that you enjoy this excerpt. It's actually from the Book of Mormon, so I mean, you tuned into that fucking Mormon. You should understand that sometimes I'm going to share a scripture from the Book of Mormon. But I tried to keep it as general as possible, tried to keep it as much, principles that we can all agree on as possible. So right now's your time to shut off if you're done with this segment. So I hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you later. For those of you who are remaining, first I want to tell a little story. My wife's a photographer, and she decided a little while back, hey, I want you to play Santa. I want to do photos, and I want you to play Santa. And I'm like, okay, so what am I doing? And so what ended up happening is, I played Santa, like I just said, but she had me dress up in this suit. And she's gonna be buying me a fat belly, and so we had our first shoot with me as Santa, besides the promo shoot, which we did with our own daughter. So it wasn't so weird, but for me anyway, it wasn't so awkward. But we had our first shoot with a family. They had a young family. They had this 3-year-old daughter, and she was an adorable kid. She was a wonderful kid, and her parents were really sweet too. And it was a lot of fun. It was really it really allowed me to get out of myself for a little bit. And then after that, we went and I got my wife some hot chocolate from the gas station, which somehow they have the best hot chocolate. Like it's insane how good their hot chocolate is. And I get up to the front and I'm about ready to pay, and they're like, "Oh well," I still have the pants on from being Santa, and because I can only take off so much, I have to take my boots off to get my pants off. I didn't want to do that before going until I got home, and they said, "Oh, don't worry. Santa coffee's free for Santa," and it wasn't coffee; it was hot chocolate. But they thought it was the same thing. They didn't care. They said coffee's free for Santa. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. Well, thanks. And I took the hot chocolate out to my wife, and told her the story, and she thought that was really cool. That was really a kind thing to them. And me and my wife and our family, we've been really struggling with finances lately, and so that was really a nice little boon, nice little push in a good direction, and help us feel better about the situation. So anyway, I hope that hearing those little good things that happen in the world, I hope that helps you feel better about how things are. I'm going to go ahead and read an excerpt from the Book of Mormon. It's from a book in the Book of Mormon called Enos. Enos is the son of whatever. There's like a lineage of prophets, and he's been in the New World for like 150 years at this point, and so he finally receives the record that his fathers have been transcribing of all the spiritual goings on of the people. And so he wrote his story, and I'm going to read the first 8 verses, and then we're gonna be done. And I'll talk a little bit about it, and then it'll be the end of the episode. He said, "Behold, it came to pass that I, Enos, knowing my father that he was just a man, for he taught me in his language, and also in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, and blessed be the name of my God for it. And I will tell you of the wrestle which I had before God, wherefore I received a remission of my sins. Behold, I went to hunt beasts in the forest, and the words which I had often heard my father speak concerning eternal life and the joy of the saints sunk deep into my heart. And my soul hungered, and I kneeled down before my Maker, and I cried unto him in mighty prayer and supplication for mine own soul. And all the day long did I cry unto him. Yea, when the night came, I did still raise my voice high that it reached the heavens. And there came a voice unto me, saying, Enos, thy sins are forgiven thee, and thou shalt be blessed. And I, Enos, knew that God could not lie, therefore my guilt was swept away. And I said, Lord, how is it done? And he said unto me, because of thy faith in Christ, whom thou hast never before heard or seen. And many years shall pass away before he shall manifest himself in the flesh. Wherefore go to, thy faith hath made thee whole. The world is not an easy place. The world is a dark, often evil place. And I can't say that things are going to get better. Things are going to get worse. Things are going to get more evil, more wicked. It's going to happen. And there's no stopping that. That's going to continue. And it's going to continue until, the second coming. Even if you don't believe in that, it's going to continue until something majorly cataclysmic happens to separate the good from the evil. And Enos, he was probably, not a bad kid. Probably just didn't care about going to church as much as his dad did. That's, every single one of us at different points in our lives. That's me in a lot of cases. And eventually he was given these records and given a responsibility that was far beyond anything that he ever understood or ever could have, come to on his own. And he had to go ponder, he had to go think about it, he had to go pray. And that prayer led him to receiving, I'll put it this way, he received freedom. And I hear a lot that, you follow the laws of your religion, so therefore you're not free. And I know that people usually don't use that kind of flowery language, but that's kind of what they mean. Like they say, in our religion, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't do drugs. And so I've heard people say, like, you're not free because you have to follow these other rules. The difference is that I'm not forced to make those decisions. I make those decisions for myself. God told me, hey, this is what's best. And if you want to be closer to me, you can follow these rules. And I follow those rules, and those rules make me feel closer and make me feel healthier in a lot of ways. And I mean, it frees me from addiction to cigarettes. It frees me from addiction to alcohol. It frees me from addiction to any drugs. It frees me from the Bible tells us how we need to treat other people, and that frees me from the possibility of having these people, hate and resent me and try to make my life more difficult. I mean, there's a lot of things that I gain because I follow the gospel. And Enos, he prayed and he received a remission of his sins. He received the ability for him to be able to be free. So what I want to tell you is that just, faith is such an intangible thing. And that's the beauty of it and the difficulty of it. Faith is the belief in things that are believed in but not seen. I know I butchered that line, but that's basically what it is. You, unless you're an incredibly special person, you haven't seen God. You haven't seen Christ. You probably haven't seen an angel. Most people haven't. So most people, ordinary people, have to operate on faith. We have to believe that God is there. And there may be a lot of people who laugh at us and say, you're following after this God and you have no proof that he exists. He doesn't, or they say empirically, he doesn't exist. We can prove it. And then you know, they don't look deep enough to see that the smallest atoms have so much organization that it couldn't have been built by anything but an intelligent, benevolent creator. And I understand, people not wanting to believe in a God because it's too intangible. But I've gained so much from believing in my God and from following my God. And I cannot deny the good that it has done me. And you talk to any Christian, if you're listening to this and you're not a Christian, talk to any Christian, and they will tell you, being a Christian, even if God does not exist, being a Christian does us more good than not. I heard one of my former bishops told me, he said, even if the empirical data came out that God did not exist, I would still be at church on Sunday because it's a good place to be. And that's what Enos was, where Enos was at. He wanted to understand from God himself what's best for me. And so he prayed all day to find out. So I'm going to have a quick prayer with you, and I hope that you all have a really good evening. I hope that you all enjoy this content, and I'm going to try to make, more like this as often as I can until I figure out, a good schedule for me, something that works. I originally was thinking, I want to do this every day, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do the same setup every single day. It's just not plausible for me right now. So I love you all. I hope you all have a really good week. It's Monday night right now as I'm recording this, so if you see this and hear this after Monday night or Tuesday morning, that means it probably took forever to upload. And I hope you guys, whatever time it is, I hope the next week is a wonderful one for you. So I'll go ahead and have a prayer, and we'll close this out. Heavenly Father, we are gathered before you to humbly say thank you for the free country that we live in, and thank you for the spirit that has been here today. We thank thee so very much for the leadership that we have, and for the inspiration given to our founders that created this wonderful country. And we ask for a blessing on us as we go our separate ways, that we will be given the love by you and feel the affection from your Son, that we will be able to go forward and spread the word about the goodness of God and the gospel, and that we will be able to embrace our free will and freedom that we have been given. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Have a good week, guys. See you next time.